Hello, this is Alexandra Guadano, and I'm here today with Chuck Hopper, who is the Vice President of Shared Services at Covance. Hi, Chuck. Thanks for joining us.
How are you, Alexandra?
Very well, thank you. Chuck is here to give us sort of a Shared Services 101 today. But before we jump into that, Chuck, can you give us a little bit of background on yourself?
Sure. Well, my brief background is I've been in HR about 15 years or so. Prior to that, about 10 years in finance disciplines, 6 different organizations, many different environments. So a pretty broad background.
So Chuck, why did you choose to go with Shared Services at Covance?
Well, the real reason for us at Covance, there were a couple actually. One is that the function, HR, was deemed as being costly. 2, the work that HR was doing was also deemed or thought to be very fragmented and distributed. 3 would be, and maybe the most important factor, is our centers of excellence, compensation, benefits, recruiting, were not being able to be focused enough on what they were meant to do or supposed to do because they were so mired in the details of their transactions and their administration. So those were the big 3 reasons.
Okay. So how has this business case been validated thus far? Do you have any examples?
Well, we built our business case on 4 factors. I don't think these are unusual or atypical. 1 being costs, 2 being quality, 3 being giving our HR COEs more capacity to be subject matter experts, and then 4, not to be forgotten, giving employees a more engaging experience. Those are the reasons we set it up. You know, we had reasons for doing it. Those are the reasons we set it up and what we've measured ourselves on. So we have good results. We're only 2 years into our journey. But for instance, we have measured that any work that we've taken on, we've been able to improve it by about 20%. Whether you measure that on productivity, costs, etc. We've also got information that we can use now to baseline ourselves to see if we in fact have shifted the work that HR does from being more tactical to being more strategic. Those are the COEs I referenced before. So we have a baseline that we can measure ourselves against, which we will be doing later this year. So that'd be another way we can measure success.
How has Covance gone about building a strong foundation for its shared services center, step by step, if you will?
The approach we took, which may be a little bit different than many, is we did basically 2 things. We said, let's lift and shift work and resources. It's obvious. So things in the recruiting space, around recruiting administration, offer letters, as an example, workforce analytics and reporting, HR application management, things of that nature. So stuff that was a little easier to define and articulate, to lift and shift it, so move it from where it was to shared services and drop it down into shared services. At the same time, we were building the long-term vision, operating principles, strategies, etc. So we kind of did 2 things at the same time. The last thing we were asked to do, though, concurrent with that, is also fix payroll, global payroll at Covance, which was a big opportunity for improvement. So we had really 3 things that we agreed to do from the beginning.
So what else are you doing to measure the success of your shared services center?
Well, we're going to be measuring success from the specifics I've mentioned in terms of we measure the cycle times and the effort it takes to do the work that we're doing versus when we took it on, how much time it used to take. So that's that improvement. We are measuring the cost of HR. We are measuring whether we're in fact creating more capacity for the HR centers of excellence. And basically what that means, are we giving back to them more time to be subject matter experts in their discipline, whatever that may be. So those would again be the measures that we're looking at and we'll be assessing ourselves against.
Okay. So Chuck, 2 years into your journey, are there any things that you think you would have done differently at this point?
Absolutely, absolutely, and who wouldn't? So if we could do it all over again, what I would say the 2 things we definitely should have done and would do again differently is, 1, agree to what the end state for HR shared services should be. So as I said, we didn't really start with an end state in mind. We started with a lift and shift work and figure it out from that point. I think a far better approach would have been, what is the end state, and agree to that right up front. Two, and just as importantly, is also identify the investments required to make that end state happen. Clearly identify them, articulate what they are, and further, what would the investment really be from a cost perspective, and get agreement and commitment to those investments early on, versus doing it kind of as we're on our journey, which hasn't really been, it's not bad, but could have been more effective if we could do those things differently.
So what do you think is next in the pipeline for shared services at Covance, and where would you like to take your center from here?
Well, I would actually, what we need to do is actually do those things that we maybe should have done in the beginning. So what we absolutely have, we're 2 years into our journey. I think I might have said that before. What we still need to do is agree to what the end state is. And the we is the HR leadership team of Covance, of which I'm a part, but it has all the other HR COEs or centers of excellence in it. So we still need to agree to what that end state should be. We also still need to agree to what investments do we need and what order do we need to make them. So quite frankly, the things I said that we've learned that we haven't done, we still need to do, and need to do them now rather than later. So those would be kind of the two big takeaways for us.
Definitely. Well, Chuck, it was a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. This is Alexandra Guadano, and I'll see you next time.